I feel the need to kind of speak up for accounting because I don't know if you read the article in the Wall Street Journal last week about how people aren't choosing accounting at nearly the rate. And I think kind of misguidedly, to be honest with you. I'd love to hear how you kind of springboard from accounting into where you are today.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think accounting could be a great foundation for, especially if you want to move into this role. But if I'm being honest, it's part of the reason why I put together that presentation, that 10 steps to becoming a strategic CFO, is because I think when you come up through the accounting ranks, you have a very tactical way of thinking, and that's a tough transition. But the benefit of it is you understand everything in the organization. You understand how the financial statement works, what drives margin, what drives cash flow and whatnot. And I think that's an easier transition to learning the FP&A side of the house, because you're just taking the skills that you've learned and projecting it forward. The people who I know who've really struggled have kind of come up as, through the finance lens, through the FP&A lens. And then when they've had to go in, especially to smaller shops where they're one or two people and they need to be directly involved in the accounting, it can be a very, very difficult learning curve to understand, even just the, basic processing of transactions, never mind, working on the close and account reconciliations and financial statement preparation.
I totally agree with you, because we have those discussions, and there's something nice every once in a while when someone tries to explain something. You can say, okay, wait, let's go back to the debits and credits here. How does that actually work? You need to understand those building blocks, even though you don't do them all the time.
I still, with my team, if we're working on trying to figure something out, if we're whiteboarding something, 8 times out of 10, I'm putting T accounts on the board. Absolutely. And I'm writing things into my T accounts. So
yeah. My daughter was trying to figure out if she had made money or lost money on some of the exchanges of Taylor Swift tickets. So she was trying to get tickets and everything, and she had bought some, and then she sold some to friends, and then so I sat down and I just put together a little T account thing and explained it. It's the only way I could figure out whether she'd actually made money. And then I sent it to her and I said, no, you should take this as a lesson. You should have majored in accounting.
The fact that you presented it as you should take this as a lesson, I mean, I assume that kind of tells you how she did. But
yeah. I can never get my kids to, they all ask me for accounting help in their current jobs but I can never get them to major in it. I don't know why. I'm so exciting.
Yeah. Like you said, a lot of benefits to it, but it's not, it's not the path for everyone. So
yeah, I definitely think it's a really useful. I feel like people are a little misguided when they look at accounting and define it as what they traditionally think of as accounting, and not realize how much it grows. I mean, look at, the difference between what you do as a CFO and how it starts off when you're at, I don't know how long were you at PwC?
Oh, the bare minimum.
Yeah.
We needed 3 years of public accounting, and I was there for 3 years and 2 months, I think. Public accounting was not for me.
It always felt like, and I have a feeling this is you as well, but you never quite felt like you were you didn't have the same ownership. It never felt like it was your team. It was sort of like a little too antiseptic.
100%. Even later on, when I've done kind of outsourced controller and CFO work, it didn't have the same feel that I have when I work as part of an organization, as part of a team. People get excited about different things, and I think that's great. Like for me, I never got excited about building like a book of business for myself. Like, I needed a different purpose. So when I get to work with the same people day after day and, help them at this point now, help them with their career development, but grow a company and see people kind of flourish in their careers, it makes a much, that's much more satisfying for me than just, building a book of business.
Well, I'm sure after all these years, you've got like a bunch of people out there that have gone on to things, and that has to be kind of rewarding, to help people launch their careers and that kind of thing.
Yeah, at this point, it really is one of the nicer things to see. Yeah, especially and we've been very fortunate here over the last 10 years to have kept a bunch of the people on our team, and we just have a fantastic team, and people who can just continuously impress me with how much they're able to do and how much they're growing, and kind of also terrifies me a little bit because maybe my 10-year tenure will be coming to an end soon with some of the people coming up behind me. But I would view that as a positive too.
You know what? There's always something. I always figured there's always something bigger to do, and you can move on to. But if you don't have someone who's picking up what you did before, you get locked into your your role, right? All of a sudden, you're too valuable to progress.
Well, I think that's a big issue that a lot of first-time CFOs have, and I'm saying CFOs. I see it in other disciplines as well, but I think a lot of time people just, for whatever reason, whether it's control or whether it's fear of being replaced or whether it's just wanting to spend resources somewhere else, they're inclined to hold on to the things they're comfortable doing and that they do well.
Yep.
Without understanding that that's what got you the job, but that's not what you were hired to do in the CFO role.
Absolutely, make total sense. You got to be thinking about the next thing you're going to add value in, right? I always think that's sort of the. We talked last year at the AFP, and I mentioned there was a stat we use. 80% of people still today, 80% of CFOs use Excel as their primary budgeting tool.
Yeah.
And I thought, why is that? Because once you get it, everybody realizes it's a nightmare to some extent. But I think that there's something about being able to bring all your data into this spreadsheet that you can completely have sitting on your laptop, and you can carry it with you everywhere, and you control every aspect of it that touches the inner need to control our world. The only problem is it's not the whole world anymore, and it's usually distorted.
Yeah, no, I've been one of them for a number of years. I've been an exception, but we've been fortunate enough to be a FutureView client that's the only plug I'll give. But
that wasn't a cheap plea for a plug.
No, I didn't take it that way, but but I will tell you, we've been fortunate enough to be a FutureView client now for I believe 3 years, 2 or 3 years, and with the key to that type of to really making FP&A software work is the implementation, and the implementation team at FutureView has just been outstanding. They've built everything that I used to do in Excel, only better. So now we run all of our forecasting. I mean, we might have a couple of schedules that we keep outside of the system in Excel, but everything else, from a rolling basis down 5 years, is all done right in the system. And I can't tell you how nice it is now that I know it's working to not have to worry about if I hard coded in a number and typed over a formula that is gonna throw off my results 36 months from now in some way that I would never ever find if I had to go look for it.
It's that alone. I had an experience when I was a public CFO with a company, and literally the night before our earnings call, or our earnings had to be released, our controller found a spreadsheet error where in the consolidation we consolidated things, and it created like a $3 million difference. And we're like, oh man, I remember that night, it was like an all-nighter to scramble around to figure out how we were going to deal with it, what it was, first verifying, but it was all because of a tiny little error buried deep in a spreadsheet. And
it's pointing at the wrong cell, and it just, good luck catching that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I couldn't help. I like the internal audit background you went into there, because I think people get those two confused too. Public accounting is sort of one thing, and then internal audit is a very different focus.
And I did a lot of operational reviews when I was in internal audit, so it really was much more consultative than kind of financial reviews. There were a few financial reviews, but it really was, looking at processes and controls, which is another, skill that's helped me a lot as I've kind of moved into the more senior ranks, because a lot of, once you get out of the day-to-day transaction work, and one of the first things you work on is risk mitigation. So having a strong understanding of the controls environment is really important there.
Yeah, I think that's, I think as you look at processes and thinking about, okay, somehow this has to go from this document to this piece that, it's just those two combined, understanding the debits and credits and understanding the processes. I think that's a huge advantage. I'm sure that's so what do you see as the big, if you're kind of looking at the finance landscape? I mean, everybody's talking about what's happening next. Is AI replacing us? All these other things. What's your sense of where things are going in the world of finance?
Oh, I think that's the $1 million question. I think for a long time now, not AI, but just technology has been such a benefit to the accounting and finance function. I can look at my team now. If I can, compare the size of my team now to the size of the team I worked at when I was at a similar company 20 years ago, we probably have a third of the headcount, and it's because we can use so much technology to handle a lot of the processing work. So I think, with AI advancements, that's only going to increase, but there's still the element that you need to be able to take the data, understand it, and then take the different inputs, right? Like, because I think we're a ways away from AI being able to help us make decisions that kind of bridge the gap between different functions, and understand the impact of what that can be in a more human way, in a less kind of digitalized, like it can spit out a result. It can spit out, you can, take a plan and run Monte Carlo scenarios and kind of figure out what your most likely outcome is going to be. But it doesn't help you understand like the obstacles that your marketing team and your sales team are facing, or that your product team is facing. And I think it's a long way before we're going to see anything that can kind of replace the human element there.
Yeah, I think it seems like even when, I'm sadly old enough to remember when spreadsheets really started to get used widely, and it didn't really change the amount of work. It just changed the nature of the work.
Changed the way we did it.
Yeah. No more 10 keys. I don't know if you were around when the first thing they gave you when I went to Peak Marwick was a 10-key adding machine that I actually got pretty quick at. You keep the tape and.
My first job was as a cashier in a grocery store. So I still use the 10 key whenever I have one available. Like, I have the keyboard that has both, and I will automatically go to the 10 key just because it's second nature at this point. But
I feel better. I still, every time I'm standing at the line and they're pulling the things over the scanner, I'm always tempted, as I always say something like, I remember when you used to have the key in each thing. It's one thing. I remember because I went from bagger to cashier and they gave me a 10-cent raise.
Yeah, it was a big deal then. I remember that. So yeah.
My wife's convinced that we're living through one of the, that we don't appreciate the amount of turbulence it causes going from, still remembering times when, you could pick up a phone and I don't know if you saw, there was a great video someone sent me. They had this father, and he gives his two teenage kids. He said he'll give them $50 if they can figure out how to make a phone call in 4 minutes. And he puts a rotary phone in front of them, and they literally have no idea any video. And it's just comical to watch them trying to figure out what to do. And so to be in the same period where you can use a rotary phone and then talk anywhere in the world on a little thing on your hand is amazing.
Yeah, I might have to find a rotary phone so I can try that with my kids. See if I can.
It's actually not as intuitive as you would think. It's kind of funny. Hey, before I jump off, Rob, I love to hear, like I said, I liked your kind of holistic. You're obviously a person who's very grounded and everything. What do you do outside of the world of finance and IANS research? What are your hobbies? And don't say the Patriots, because
so not this. No, I born and bred in Boston, so I'm a big Boston sports fan. Truth is, I have a 13, an 11, and an 8-year-old at home, so that takes up a lot of my time. So I work enough during the week that I kind of, the weekends are really kind of dedicated to the family and whatever needs to get done there. But I still enjoy, following sports. Try to get my workouts in and get some exercise in. And we're fortunate enough to live on a coastal town, so try to get outside and when the weather's nice enough, enjoy the sunshine and the nice weather. But really, it's at this point in my life, it's mostly about what my wife and kids need.
I totally get it. Those are fun ages.
Yeah, they are. They challenging in different ways than we had when they were 2, 5, and 7. But that's okay. It's all they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. But as my wife likes to tell me, happy wife, happy life. So the weekends are dedicated to try to make sure that I have a happy life.
I tell my wife that all the time. I'm like, happy, and I'm like, what do you want to do, dear? And she goes, I feel like you're just complying. And I'm like, yeah, I am. Yes. Why is that not working?
That is exactly what I'm doing right now, but that's okay.
I hear you. Well, listen, I really appreciate you taking time to chat with us. Really value FutureView's ongoing relationship, but most of all, really love it. I appreciate you sharing some of your background here, Rob. I think it'll be really helpful to people who are aspiring to move up in the world of finance.
I appreciate the opportunity. I had a lot of fun. It's always good to talk to you, John.
Absolutely, Rob. Hey, thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you're looking to rapidly transform your finance function, visit us at FutureViewSystems.com.